Recording in progress.
Good day, students. Today we are going to learn about data handling. So, for the meantime, may you allow me to share my screen, then we'll start. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm your teacher, Madam Dorcas Murere. So today we'll be doing data handling. So data handling, it involves collecting, organizing, and summarizing data. So from the word data handling, what is data handling? Data handling is a process of collecting data and analyzing the data. So whenever you collect data, usually you want to solve a real world problem, then it starts with posing a question. You have to come up with a question. Then after coming up with a question, you have to answer it. For you to answer that question, the data handling, it involves incorporating some statistical methods that you use so that you come up with a solution to the problem. So we'll discuss about some definitions. So I'll move to the next slide. There are certain definitions that you have to know. So I will start with the data. What is data handling? As I said earlier, it's a process of collecting and analyzing data. You have to start by posing a question. Then after posing a question, you have to identify the kind of information that we have to collect, or the kind of data that we have to collect, so that you answer that question. So we have to know there are reasons why we have to do the data handling. So, or why do we collect data? The first reason is to solve real world problems using different statistical methods. Then it also helps in decision making. So whenever you want to make a decision, you just have to collect data for that certain type of study that you want to do. For example, you want to do a business, you want to start a business, you have to start by collecting data. Maybe you have to find out whether a certain item that you want to sell, is it going to have customers, or do the people around that area like that certain type of product? So you just have to maybe do an interview some people, or just collect information about a certain information that you want. So I'll move to my next slide. This slide, it has definitions that we are going to use throughout this topic. So the first definition is data. Data is just information that we collect about the world around. So any information that you collect, it might be the shoe size of people, the shoe size learners in your class wear. That's data. So data it involves a lot of things. You can even collect data about the age of learners in your class. So that's data. Then population. How do you collect data? A population is the entire group from which we need to collect data. We can take an example of the whole school. The whole school is a population, but it's difficult to collect data for the whole school. For example, here at St. Paul's, you can't collect data for maybe 400 learners here, but you can choose what is called a sample. A sample is just a small number that will represent the whole school, or it might represent a class. So the population will be a class. Then the sample, you just pick individuals from that class. Then how do you collect data? There are many methods of collecting data. So you can use collect data using a questionnaire, of which in this topic we are going to use, or today we are going to discuss about how do you design a questionnaire, or how do you ask questions. So a questionnaire is a list of questions a respondent need to answer. Then a respondent is a person that is going to answer those questions on the questionnaire. So remember, like what I said earlier, I said data handling, it's a process. So it involves stages that is called the data cycle. So a data cycle is, it starts with, remember I said data handling, it starts with posing a question. So this one is a display of the data cycle. So this cycle, you have to pose a question, collect data, organize the data, represent the data, interpret and analyze the data. Then after that, you have to make a report on the results that you got. So you remember, when you're making a report, you want to answer that question that you came up with first. So that's it for this process. So today we are just going to discuss about how do you pose a question. Then the other we are going to do them in our next lessons. So how do you pose the question? So here I have an example of a questionnaire. The question, it says, Dorcas wants to know the most popular sport for grade 7 learners at St. Paul's Primary School. The school has 80 grade 7 learners. She decided to question 40 learners. That's a sample from the 3 classrooms. She developed a questionnaire as per the table below. So today we just want to, I designed here a questionnaire that has a yes or no. So remember, when you're designing a questionnaire, the questions have to be straightforward. They don't have to be complicated, so that the respondent will start thinking, what exactly are you trying to ask? So that's it for the questionnaire. So this one is the questionnaire. You can check it. It's about the learners being asked the favorite sport. So if you don't take part in sports, you just say no, 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 no. That will be your response. Allow me to move to the next slide. Then I've given other examples of questionnaires here, so you can study them so that they can help you to make your own questionnaire, because I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you a classwork where you're supposed to design your own questionnaire. So this is how you can, the other ways of designing a questionnaire, or how you can even ask questions to the respondents. And also the response, you can even use the ticking method, where a person will just tick, if for example, do you help with chores at home? If you don't, you just have to tick on the no. So the next slide will be the classwork that we have to attempt. After this lesson, you have to attempt this classwork. So I think data handling is just a process whereby you collect data. You collect data to solve a real world problem. So I will allow you to ask questions for this one before we move to the next one. Allow me to move to the next slide. I will thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for this presentation today.